get this started today. Hey guys, I am Polly Taylor. Thank you so much for being here tonight. This is Filmburgh Live, episode 14. We have another amazing guest in here this week, and we're super excited. I can't wait to really tell you all about it. Before we jump into the extensive lead up to our guest introduction, I want to hop right over to our buddy Wes. How's it going today, Wes?
It's going great.
Oh yeah, tell me, what's new in your life?
Marvel Avengers. I gotta say, the conversion has been complete.
Oh yeah, it's true. It took me a little while. But I definitely got you on the hook for it. You know? Got
me hooked.
What I can say is, it was awesome. If you guys can't tell from the way that I am dressed, I have been officially an Avenger. I've seen it 3 times already since opening. So it's my birthday on Tuesday. So I had tickets, brother got me tickets, all this stuff. And it's been great every single time that I watch it. So Wes, what else is new in the world?
So we're gonna start off by saying that Netflix. I know, sad news. I don't know if you heard, but if you haven't, Santa Clarita Diet.
Oh, Santa Clarita Diet. Oh no. Yeah. I have to say that I bumped right there with you. It was a great show, great cast. And hey, I don't know. I think that you just got to tweet a little bit. We could get that what they did with Sense8, bust out a 2-hour movie to wrap up everything and let us say goodbye the right way. Netflix has the power to really do that. So, well, guys. I want to get right to it. We're going to have an awesome show. We got a lot of ground to cover. And like I said, we have an awesome guest in the house tonight. Both Wes and I had the pleasure of working with him on the set of a short that we did called Barney Kills the Sun. It was just featured at the Indie Oaks Film Festival here in Pittsburgh. It was really awesome. And through working with this guy, we were all in, a group chat. And he demonstrated his sheer genius through GIFs alone. Okay? And after the conversation went on, I was literally LOLing on the other side of the phone. I was like, okay, man, we gotta get you on the show. You were already perfect for it, but now I gotta know what you say. And he was so gracious. He's here, obviously. And after we figure out when he's coming on, he's like, what do you want? What do you want to know? What do you need from me? And I had said naively, everything. And let me tell you what, this guy proceeds to tell me, I'm assuming it's really just the tip of the iceberg, but oh my gosh, everything. We cover every topic you can imagine. And at first I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And then the sheer volume of it started to overwhelm me because I wanted to look everything up. And then I realized really quick when it started to get oh wow, this is just so much of a person. How often do you get to meet somebody who, at the request of you saying, tell me everything, proceeds to go at it full force and allows you to learn so much about them really quick? And it turned into this really cool experience where, one, I got to learn a lot about this guy before, I got to learn a lot about him, his differences from me. But then, slowly, I started to see a lot of our similarities or the things that we share in common already. And sometimes it just takes so long to find that in other people. And through this situation, we found stuff, within a matter of hours. So really cool. Without further ado, I am so excited. Thank you so much for being here. This is our local filmmaker, and everything, Renaissance man, Peter J.S. Regan. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. That was quite an intro you gave me. Thank you very much.
We try to shake up the show every episode, and you just deserved that intro. I don't know what to say, man. I mean this as bromosexually as possible. I'm definitely smitten with you, and your girl needs to watch out.
Don't listen to him, Allie. I love you.
Oh my gosh! So thank you so much for being here. Now let me ask just real quick so we can get you introduced to the audience. Why don't you give us a quick rundown of Peter J.S. Regan and what he's about?
Well, first off, his name's REGAN. Sorry.
REGAN.
Don't worry. Happened my whole life.
Okay.
But yeah, pretty much everything I do comes back to filmmaking. Like you said, we talked about a lot of different things that I do, but a lot of it just goes back into that because filmmaking is so involved with so many different types of mediums, whether, it's photography or music, all that. But yeah, so I, right now I'm a full-time filmmaker. I work with Store Express. Self-storage, so I'm the video production director in the marketing department. I love my job. It's totally cool, and I make a lot of the commercials, the website videos, but I also, in my free time, am working on my own personal projects, my own films. I'm working on my first feature. I'm in like my 4th year of doing that, but I work on it like every day. It's coming, and I'm really happy with how it's turning out. So yeah, but
and that's Star Trip, right? That's your shirt for it.
Yep, Star Trip, sci-fi comedy adventure. It's gonna happen.
Is a sick graphic tee, and I want one. Where can we get one?
I'll talk to you later.
Oh, okay. Hey, if you got a link, throw it out.
Yeah, these were made because of the Indiegogo campaign we did. We have perks and all that, and
cool.
One of the perks was T-shirts, and we're gonna be sending those out when the film is done.
How many pages was the script?
Oh, geez. Well, it changed a lot because the first rough cut was like, I think 2.5 hours long or something. Oh. Maybe not that long.
Epic.
Well, but hang on. It was a really long 2.5 hours. And now it's, the film's going to be like just under 90 minutes.
Oh, that sounds sweet.
Yeah.
That's a huge amount of typing.
Yes, because, well, the thing with writing, like, filming my first feature was... I always thought, like, while I was writing it, it takes forever to read the thing, and I was just like, all right, we might have to remind the audience what's going on, because it's been, like, however many pages.
A little exposition.
But when you watch it, it's like, oh, well, this happened 10 minutes ago. You don't need a scene where people say something like, and remember, let's catch everybody up to what happened last time, So it ended up, that tightened it down a lot. A few characters were cut. Some people who didn't have their lines memorized, that kind of thing. And
throws off.
But also a lot of it was just pacing. Things got rearranged. It's definitely a lot shorter than it was gonna be. But it's a lot better for it.
So with this production, you utilize some crowdfunding sources like Indiegogo.
Right.
Now, for that production, how many days did you film?
Okay, so I lost track because it ended up going way overboard. Because we were filming this while I was in film school at Edinburgh University, and we were filming on weekends. So you'd film it like 2 days at a time, sometimes one.
That's that indie grind, guys.
So and we were gonna try and get it done in like one semester, and that didn't happen, to put it bluntly. But it's like for as long as it was taken, like I said, this is the 4th. It's all shot. Okay, I'll put that. But it's just a lot of animation at this point. But yeah, it's just. It took a long time to do it, but we got the film in the can, so I'm very happy about that. And but it ended up taking quite a while.
What camera did you film on?
Geez, it was a Sony camera that, like, I forget the actual number. It wasn't anything cool like the Blackmagic Pocket cinema camera or anything. It was a Sony camera.
Those 4Ks are sweet.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to get one, and I've got it on back order still.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not sure where the thing is.
Would it excite you if I told you for my birthday I got one and it's sitting in the living room right now?
Yeah. It made me jealous. But totally.
Well, see, now you've been a guest on the show, and as a fellow filmmaker, since that's our primary drive, you have access. If you give us a call, you let us know what you need and when. This is all available for you.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Guys.
Oh wow! Thank you.
Filmburgh is about the community, and Pittsburgh is primed. Like, we are ready to become a powerhouse. And what it's going to take is it's going to take a banding together of the brightest minds that we can find, who also have the work ethic. I find tons of talented people left and right every single day, and the thing that separates the doers from the dreamers is the doers do. you know, and I find the more that like I'm just doing my thing, trying to find new ways to do it, I continue to meet guys like yourself who are wildly talented and insanely motivated to achieve the goal, to bring the dream from in here to out here, you know?
Yeah.
And that as an adult for me has been the most prevalent skill that I've had to build, is taking that idea, turning it into words, and turning words into actions that yield a physical result, you know? And that's hard. It's like, it's so easy to put into words, you know? But that artistic process is so tough. But yes, anything you need, you just let me know, and we'll make it happen. So, yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I didn't know that was part of the deal of being on here.
Wow.
Cool.
It is for you.
Oh, all right.
It is for you. And, I mean, we're saying it out here, like, our goal is to help our guests in any way that we can. And with our fellow filmmakers that we bring on here, obviously, one of the assets that we have are our assets, you know, is our access to quality equipment and manpower, really. So, you know, hey, you just got to keep us in mind. You throw it out there. I'm trying to book us up doing as many small projects as possible between the actual, you know, client bookings. So, yeah. So, let's get off on that topic there. And let's go back. Wes, why don't you throw us out a little tidbit? What else is new in the world today?
I'm sure all of you guys are fans of Game of Thrones, right? So tomorrow we got that set, but what's gonna replace that? Amazon Studios is doing a Lord of the Rings season, 5 seasons, $1 billion.
Just a cool $200 million per season.
So, kind of hard to process that figure, according to Elijah Wood.
Or are they saying that $1 billion is for the whole series? Or are they saying that they're dropping it now, and wherever that ends, they'll see how well it's doing, and, you know, they'll dump the rest?
I believe it's for the whole series. Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, that's an insane amount. Like, do we know what the total was for the full 8 seasons of Game of Thrones? Like, what they ended up spending?
I do not know. That's interesting.
I think for season 7, 6 or 7, they were at like $50 million per episode.
Yeah.
Or something crazy like that. Yeah. Which is...
Here, let's see. Let's go to...
Inspiring.
So, yeah. Total production cost of Game of Thrones. All right. So, Game of Thrones final season has insanely staggering cost of $15 million apiece. In recent years, standard has been $10 million apiece. So they've been... Like, for
they
seasons,
lied to me.
the stats are, but still, that's insane. So if you think about it, they're going to end with how many episodes? Like 73, I think. So if it averages out across those 8 seasons to, like, let's say $12 million an episode, we're looking at not far from $1 billion right there, you know? So I don't think that figure is too far off. I think that it's insane. I don't know what they're going to do with 5 seasons of that story, because the movies were done very, very well. Right, you know, I wasn't as huge a fan of The Hobbit, but I think they were incorporating newer technologies that were a little too young at the time to do as well. Where what made the original so good was the use of a little more fine-tuned, like, special effects type things, but their use of more when you're actually, like, building, you know, practical effects.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it also was for the Lord of the Rings. That production was so well handled that the Uruk-hai armor was finished a year before they started filming anything.
Oh.
Yeah, and with The Hobbit, like, the paint was still wet on the sets while they were filming, and it's really like, if you want to get depressed, look at the behind the scenes of The Hobbit. It's really sad. It's like, whenever a film goes wrong, typically it's the director's fault, but in that case, you really can't blame Peter Jackson too much for what happened. It's really heartbreaking to see what the guy was going through. And it's so strange because The Lord of the Rings for me is like so inspiring. Like, I'll tell people, like, if you want to learn about filmmaking, watch the Lord of the Rings movies extended, and then watch all the behind the scenes and all the commentaries, and then watch them again, and you'll kind of know how to make a movie at that point. You know, that's how I learned. But it's Yeah, the Hobbits just kind of didn't work out so well. Like, even a lot of the CG stuff that they did in Lord of the Rings holds up and looks great, and some of the stuff in the Hobbit, like, just their green screens don't look... It's not composited well. Yeah. It's not as believable.
And they chose to shoot in a weird frame rate. Like, they did everything in 48 frames a second to account for having to do it in 3D. And so it's like, just the texture of it was weird. It's like, is this a video game? I don't know. But yeah. But I agree. You know, my mother loved movies. You know, she has, or had, I was probably in boxes in some storage unit now, but when the 80s and 90s growing up, my mom had just bookcases upon bookcases, you know, that went from floor to ceiling of just VHS movies, you know. So she always loved movies, had nothing to do with entertainment. She just, you know, loved the storytelling process that, you know, movies gave to her. And Lord of the Rings was one of, or if not the first thing as like a teenager that like reignited that I don't know, fascination for me, that magic that you would feel from like the Jurassic Parks and stuff like that. I'd read The Hobbit, but I'd never read The Lord of the Rings. Had no clue it was even a movie. And my brother's sitting in my living room right now, and we went to go see it just randomly one day. And at the end, I was like, what just happened to me? I had no clue. I had no clue what I was getting into. And then all of a sudden, it was this fantastic, epic, gripping story that I was going to have to wait how long for the second movie? But it was so good. I can geek out about that forever. Speaking of geeking out, there's something that I know... Peter, you and I can geek out on, so I definitely want to talk about it a little because I'm excited to get into a series you recommended to me. But one thing as far as storytelling growing up, I grew up in backwoods Arkansas, you know, well, not backwoods, I wouldn't say. I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas, but you know, like I had all my family lived out in just general Arkansas. And so, but one of my cousins, real like, you know, born bred for the army type guy, was always into comic books and anime. And so when I was like, I don't know, 10 or 11 years old, he's like, I'd beg him, because he was like 18 years older than me, but I'd beg him to let me watch anime. And he's like, all right, I'm going to watch Akira. And I'm going to mean mug the camera real quick. It's like for people who know like what that 10-year-old just experienced. But I, you know, from there was an instant love for what you could do with animation. One of the first multimedia projects I ever did was a foul-mouthed cartoon about adorable teacup Yorkies who say horrible things. You can find it on our page, on our channel, Filmburgh. And yeah, I just have a deep-seated love for good animation. And one of the stories that I just related to, because I do have such a strong love for my brother, was
Full Metal
FMA, Full Metal Alchemist, yes.
Yeah.
So I'd love to talk to you about
Full Metal. Such a good show.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Yeah. And you actually, you have a, do you want to talk about?
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. You know.
So this guy, I thought I was a FMA fan. Yeah, this guy did the, you know, full commitment.
Yeah.
He's got a tattoo. Get the camera on, you know.
Yeah, let's see if we can get here. Let's do let's do this. So
dude, so that the Flamel cross, do you know what like the meaning of the symbol is and stuff, like why it's in the show?
No, tell me.
Okay, so it's actually like I loved it because of the show. And then I looked it up and I'm sort of into symbology. No, I don't mean symbolism.
Well, that's like, it's at the heart of all good storytelling for me.
Yeah, like, so the Flamel cross, where that actually comes from, or I don't know like how old the symbol is, but the meaning behind it is the snake on the cross is the idea that alchemists were trying to come up with an elixir, right? And one way that they thought they could do that is if they extracted the poisonous parts of mercury. Okay, because everybody's been fascinated by mercury for a while, and they're like, let's get that out of there and it will be an elixir. So the idea is the snake is dead on the cross, so they've removed the poison, and then they have the wings that let you ascend to the kingdom, which is the crown, which is the eternal life. So like it's got all kinds of cool stuff about it like that. And it was I don't know if it was like really an old alchemist symbol or not, but that's the meaning.
Well, it sounds like
it's really cool.
Flamel definitely sounds like an alchemist symbol because
Nicholas Flamel.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, okay, cool. Well, that's really neat. I'd love to geek out a little bit about Full Metal with you, just because there's a lot to talk about. We have the 2 separate series, which is Full Metal Alchemist and then Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which I have like completely separate love for both of them. To give you a quick rundown, the first one started before the source material was finished, and so they got through the source material, and then they had to figure out what they were going to do with it. And they went their own way. And then Brotherhood is a more direct translation, from page to screen of the actual manga. So, good stuff. Like, they're both good in their own ways. Like, I personally kind of like the original and what they did with it.
Oh, yeah. It's when I saw the original, I was watching it with my brother. And at that point, I had hated anime. I had like a bad experience with it. Like there was a movie I saw and it scared me. I didn't. It's like, why doesn't it look like Disney?
Yeah,
you know?
Yes.
And but then at some point, my brother got me into this show, and so much of the show is about brothers and all that, and I just really got into that story. And
the brotherhood element, like, really is what tied me into it as well.
It's like that's the heart of the story is these 2 brothers, and watching it with your brother in like a blanket fort, is like the best thing ever.
Yes.
And then when it was done, I thought, well, that's probably the best show I've ever seen. I'm never going to see anything better than that. And then they made Brotherhood.
Yes.
Which, when that show gets going, is, I think, way better than the original. Like, the things that are good about the original aren't as present in Brotherhood. Like, they are 2 very different shows.
Very different,
but
yes.
Just, oh my goodness. I think
how the story is focused, and the mythology, the symbolism that was meant and intended for the end of the story was better utilized in Brotherhood because they had the ending,
Right.
Where they kind of had to make their own leap. So what I liked about the original is it's much more of a drama. It's a little bit of a heavier show. It's a slower burn because, it takes like, 3 seasons to get through what you get through in the first 10 or 12 episodes of Brotherhood.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
It crushes through stuff once you get to Brotherhood, which kind of makes Brotherhood a great show, even if you were already into it. Like, if you'd already seen the original, you'll probably like Brotherhood all the more because of how fast it gets you through all that stuff. So,
right, and they use the same voice actors and everything, so it just kind of felt like you got to go on another adventure with the same characters and the same people. It's just like seeing an alternate reality, basically, where just sort of different things happen. You get to hang out with the characters twice, and that's awesome.
Yeah, and the storytelling's great both times. It gets a little convoluted on the original, and it's long. The first one's long, and then you gotta watch, the movie afterwards, The Conqueror of Shambhala, and then Star of Milos. You can watch that pretty much whenever, because it's just its own separate story, kind of within the original timeline. So, that's my geeking out for that. But dude, when you said that you liked animes a lot, I was like, ooh, well, I love animes, I love the medium, but there's only a few that I'm really good at. So I was like, so what do you like? I was expecting to get a few things to just check out, but when you said FMA, I was like, oh yes, that anime is life.
Yeah. So I've been trying to find my fix through anime ever since FMAB. I haven't found anything that I really engage with as well. But there's a couple other ones that I've seen that I really like for completely different reasons.
Yeah.
Did you check out Ghost Stories?
I haven't seen it yet. It is on the to-do list.
Okay, let me tell you something. This isn't a spoiler thing. It's just kind of like how they made the show. So the idea of the original, it's for little kids.
Okay.
And it's kind of supposed to be a little scary, but you're not allowed to really scare kids that much, so it's not, and it ends up being this boring, bland show that I wouldn't watch.
Yeah.
But then the English dub people came in to dub the show, and apparently they thought the same thing. They were like, this is really boring. So they rewrote the show. and they changed the dub, and they changed like the character arcs and everything.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious, and it's a show that you should not show to kids. By the way,
that's good.
But yeah, like episode 1, you're kind of like, huh, people are saying some weird things, but then by episode like 2 or 3, you're like, what is happening?
Yeah.
And it's this hilarious show, and the people who made the original eventually heard of it. It's the official English dub. If you get it on DVD, it's what's on there.
Okay.
And they're talking about like smoking crack with Charlie Sheen and doing all kinds of weird stuff.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it gets crazy.
Wow.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, and but the people who made the original show found out about it and apparently thought it was great. So they were really good sports about it.
That's awesome.
That's what I heard. Maybe it was the same person who told me that Game of Thrones had 50 million per episode, so that could be wrong. But
All
yeah,
right,
that's
so
what I heard how it panned out.
We'll test.
I like
we'll test
to
that theory
think.
out.
Yeah.
But yeah, well then the only other thing before we move on, I think that for Full Metal Alchemist we have to touch on is the live action on Netflix. So what did you? I mean, like, you know, trying to be as not a super hardcore fan, like overall, well, would you watch a sequel if they made another one?
I mean, I would, but not because I think it would be really good.
Yeah, it was...
the thing is, like, I had tempered expectations for it. I think that you could do live action FMA. I think you actually could do it really well. And the reason why I think that is that a lot of anime adaptations to live action have been really bad, but there's this one trilogy that I try to get everybody to watch.
Yeah.
Rurouni Kenshin.
Rurouni Kenshin.
These are some of the best movies I've seen come out in the last few years.
Okay.
They're Japanese films. They're live action adaptations of the manga or anime.
Where can we find them?
You can find them at your local library in Oakland, where I also work. And
oh, cool.
Yeah, but you can get them there. You can pirate them online.
Right, yes.
You know,
yeah, the age-old ways.
Yeah, but they became really successful over in Japan. Like, they broke a ton of records, and they did something that blew my mind, which is the second and third one are kind of a two-parter. And they released them like within a month of each other, or something crazy like that. Yeah, which I'd never heard of doing that. Like they made them, and then they were like, "Here's the second one," and then like really shortly after that, they released the third one. And it broke all these records in Japan, which is really cool. But those movies are such. You don't have to like be into samurai movies or into foreign film to like, you know, get into this highbrow stuff. They're just good movies. They're funny. They're well made. The acting's great. They're charming. The cinematography is gorgeous, and it's a good story, and it's interesting, and the action in it is as good as the best stuff I've seen, and it gets better. Like the first one has some really cool fights, some really great action. The second one, you're just like, wow, I haven't seen someone do that stunt since like Buster Keaton was risking his life, you know. And then the third one just melts your head. It's great. And
that's awesome.
And the fights aren't just flashy, because that's boring, you know.
Sure.
People don't usually, you know, YouTube fight scenes on YouTube, excuse me, to just see fights. Sometimes, like maybe if you're trying to choreograph a fight, but every fight ups the ante with the story, and it gets more intense.
Wow.
And they're just awesome movies. So Rurouni Kenshin, go watch them. Everyone I've shown them to loves them.
Are they subbed or dubbed? Both.
I would say subbed probably, but if you don't mind dubbed, if that doesn't diminish an experience for you, just watch it dubbed, whatever. But the sub's good.
Sometimes it depends. If the dubs are good enough, like if the dialogue is at least good enough, I don't mind the audio drift, you know, for that type of stuff. But if what they're saying like just sounds like weird or like poor translations, like it's not translated into a way somebody would say something in English, you know.
I would probably. I haven't seen the dub, so I would only recommend the sub. Yeah, because the first one's like a little corny, but like in a good movie way, you know, go get them. And but the second one is one of the best sequels to a movie I've ever seen in my life.
That's amazing.
It's phenomenal. And you know how like there's that problem that movies have where you have like one guy fighting lots of people, and there's always like they're fighting him one at a time, or there's a guy like you know, going like this in the background. They solved that problem with this movie. They completely convince you that is the greatest swordsman who ever lived. And it's it's like, I don't know how they did some of the stuff that are in those movies.
Well, that's
which
exciting.
Is pretty
and we
unusual.
can just go get it at the library. The library has this?
It has them. They're usually checked out. They're pretty popular here, actually.
Okay.
Well, at the library anyway, in the foreign film section, you know, which I recommend as well.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, so.
Well, what a great outlet! Like, of course, the library. Never thought that.
Yeah, free movies.
Free movies, yeah.
You know, as long as you don't keep them more than 3 weeks. So.
Okay, nice.
And you can check out like 999 of them. So.
You all at once?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
wow.
they used to be like 5, and then they just kind of said, let's not do limits anymore.
Yeah, let's not do limits because it'd be better if they just kept them so we could charge.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's the way it goes.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, now one thing, sitcoms. You a fan of any sitcoms in particular?
You know, I'm not a huge fan of the format. There are sitcoms I like. Just like I have a hard time like getting into actually sitting down to watch a sitcom because I'd rather see something live in real life, you know, or I'd rather watch a movie that is more cinematic. But that being said, I'm a big fan of Blackadder and Faulty Towers as well. Those are British comedies with, let's see, Faulty Towers is John Cleese, of course, and Blackadder has Rowan Atkinson, some of you might know him as Mr. Bean, and it's also got John Cleese and Stephen Fry and Brian Blessed's in the first season, so it's quite a good show.
All-star.
Yeah. But, yeah, I Love Lucy, but...
okay, some classics.
Those are pretty old, I guess.
Well, let me ask this then. Did you ever get into The Office?
A little bit, yeah. I didn't watch all of it, or haven't seen all of it yet. Yeah. But I like it. It's a good show. I have a funny that I hate Jim. Yeah. Sorry, everybody, except I'm not. Yeah, and the problem is that I know Jim in real life, like not the actor. I know that person. Yeah. And.
They're not as cool.
They're not as cool. If you know. Now, out of everybody who works at Dunder Mifflin, maybe he's the guy I want to hang out with. But, no, just. No.
Well, the reason.
Great actor, great character, good writing.
Oh, the writing's great.
That guy.
It's still, every time I talk about The Office, I remember that in 7 years, Michael Scott was never awarded an Emmy. And it is the biggest letdown. Never. He was nominated 5 or 6 of his 7 seasons, and he never won. Okay, and it's a shame, right?
Yeah.
He
is great.
It's crushing. Yeah, he's like literally a genius in that show. The way he is Michael Scott. And then you go see things like, what was it? The
Foxcatchers. That was a really messed up movie.
God. And he's just great. He's phenomenal in it. So it's on Netflix. It is the #1 most streamed Netflix anything, and they're thinking about taking it off. They're thinking about taking it off of Netflix, right?
Why?
I mean, well, they're a huge powerhouse, but here's my theory. I'm glad that you asked that question because I wanted to bring up this topic specifically for that. Yeah. So, good job. Yes, I'm glad you remembered your lines.
Yeah.
So it's so he's gonna star in a new Netflix sitcom, very similar in style, I believe, to The Office. It's a workplace comedy called Space Force, based on the newest branch of our armed forces, the Space Force.
I'm a big fan.
So, I don't know. I'm excited for that. I think that might be why they might take it off for a little bit to try to get people into that, because I think it's going to be like Michael Scott, and hopefully the Emmys do what's right this time. He should be really bad, and they should just give him an Emmy anyways.
Let's do it anyway.
So, but yeah, I'm stoked for that, and The Office, it's a great show. It's one of those, hey, once Michael Scott leaves, you could stop, but if you make it to that point, you'll probably just finish, because you just want to know what happens. So, and it's good. They still make you laugh throughout that. Wes, let's kick it back a little bit. Why? You got to see Avengers Endgame.
Yes.
Opening night, right? We saw it Thursday night. 11 p.m.
Do we gotta do a spoiler alert here?
Oh, yeah, guys. Spoiler alert. We are going to talk a little Avengers Endgame. And
everybody clicks off.
Yeah, right. We're going to try to keep it not so spoilery. We'll keep it more like opinion based overall, I think. That's fair. We can be more spoilery next week or next episode. So here's one thing. I think it's only fair that you confess to the audience and our guest the truth about Avengers Endgame. What had you not seen when we sat down in that theater?
I had not seen all of Infinity War.
He watched Endgame without seeing Infinity War. Here's what I will say about that. They are two completely separate movies, which is why they didn't do Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2. Which is really smart because the whole tone, the way the story's designed, they're completely separate films. And it's kind of a testament to how great Marvel is at their storytelling that you can have somebody who hasn't seen everything. My brother, we went to go see it last night because he drove in from Cincinnati last night, got us tickets for my birthday, so that was the third time I got to see it. We saw it at like 10. And he hadn't seen a lot of stuff, so he had a couple of extra questions that are easy to answer. The broad strokes of everything else. But I think that it's really cool that you can sit down and watch pretty much any Marvel movie and have a good experience. So I mean, from like just any type of standpoint, like what do you guys think is the biggest? Like, what has led to this success the most, besides money?
The buildup of having a lot of well put together major motion pictures that can hold their own weight, pulling off Avengers, the first one, was it? Because even Avengers 2, a lot of people say it wasn't as good. I agree, but it wasn't a failure, No. But I think the thing that really sold Endgame was Infinity War. It's like when that movie ended, no spoilers once again.
Right, yeah.
But I didn't realize that wasn't the last Marvel movie when I saw it. Yeah, I thought Infinity War was the last, like, okay, this is it. Like, I didn't even know they were making Captain Marvel. I was really out of it. And so when that movie ended, I was just like, what? I was like, where's the rest of the movie?
Yes.
So, that was, so I think that the build-up just, what has it been, like 10 years since Iron Man came out?
Right, yeah. Oh, the build-up's impressive.
Oh,
yeah,
right?
It's like if they didn't, you couldn't just come out with Endgame and have the same result. Because so much of that movie is built on, while I agree that most of the Marvel movies, you could just watch and enjoy them, I think that Endgame, you really need to watch at least most of the movies in order to really get it.
Yeah, and that's why Endgame really worked for me, because from the get-go, I have to say, it was just incredible acting. Robert Downey Jr., from the get-go, hooked me, and that's why I made it so good, because, I mean, they kind of reiterated what happened in Infinity War, through the first half, so you knew it was at stake, and it was just amplified, I think, by his acting. And
they did a good job with the initial exposition, because that gets tricky for me, from a storytelling standpoint, I think, is that, exposition is necessary, but you don't want to overdo it. And I thought that they did a good job.
And it was easy to follow, when they jumped between...
And they jumped a lot.
Yeah.
It was there was story, the end,
Right.
So... I thought that it was good. I felt like there were a few moments that didn't land, and part of that was based off of the overall tone of the movie. There were a few of the heavier moments that didn't land, especially in the ending. But
careful.
Yeah. Just I'll stop there. But it's there's just some things that I feel like the weight was lost, and that could have been done with a mild tweak to the script. Or a mild tweak to who's actually in frame. There's just a couple of things that I think would have made it overall tie it up a little bit better for me. But here's the thing, and I was talking about it with my brother, because he was like, oh yeah, it's the end. you know? And he's looking at it at the end, but even Kevin Feige said that Spider-Man Far From Home is the official end of Phase 3. So that's actually going to tie up like any remaining loose ends, or it's supposed to, as far as like the setup for Phase 4. And you know, a lot of people are thinking, and there's a couple of parts, like there's a couple of parts of Endgame that I feel they set it up. If you listen to some dialogue and you think about it not as the character, but you say, like, what if this was just a speech written about the MCU itself? And I think it applies. It kind of, they gave themselves, you know, they're like, well, we kind of told you, we don't know what's going to happen from here. But, you know, there's a lot of strong things. You know, the kid who's playing Spider-Man will probably play Spider-Man for another, you know, the one that's coming out in 4 after that at least. But I think he could play Spider-Man for the next 10, 15 years because he signed on saying, well, I want to be Robert Downey Jr. I want to be here for the long haul. So I think he's going to kind of take over the center point of the MCU because he's such a strong property. And
everybody loves Spider-Man.
And he's always a favorite in the Avengers too, when the Avengers included him in the comic books, you know. And so like I think people are like, well, so like really, what's it gonna do? Like Feige's throwing out, yeah, we're gonna make the Immortals. Like, okay, all right, Guardians was good. I'm cool with obscure stuff, especially if they lead to another like 10 years of epic Avengers team ups, and like the new team leads up to the right way. Like if their patience, I think, has been one of the things, waiting for the right time and acting. There's so much that just made this right, that made it work. But
you think that's why Justice League kind of failed? Like it just didn't build itself up in the right way?
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. So,
you know, running the DC universe must be hard. However, I don't know that a lot of people could do a worse job than what's been done for a lot of it. It's like, why would you, you know, have your first Batman movie be a dual combo? Why would you, you know, have your biggest moment, Batman versus Superman?
Yeah,
why would you start
rushed
that?
Everything.
Yeah, it's like where you're trying to have all these payoffs without any build-up.
Yeah.
So sorry, I get frustrated by that whole time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. DC was a huge letdown.
Yeah.
Because I love superhero movies just because they're superhero movies. Like I'm gonna go see it. I typically will pre-order the ticket, you know. And normally, like even when they're bad, I like them just because they're superhero movies, you know. And it's like I really want to, like I want DCEU to just work through the growing pains. But now they've lost Batman, like all this other stuff. So it's like it's a mess. Maybe this new Joker movie will be worth its weight.
Yeah.
And I have very low expectations.
Then the TV shows have nothing to do with the movies. You know,
it's like... The TV shows are...
With Marvel, they had, like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that actually went with the films
Agent
with some
Peggy
of the same
Carter
characters.
Had 2 seasons.
And then you had... and then, you know, you've
Marvel
got 2
Netflix.
different people playing Flash in the DC stuff. It's like, you know, you could be killing 2 birds with 1 stone here, but you're not.
And that's what's crazy about it, because the DC TV shows are landing. Do you watch any of those at all?
No.
They are very good because they get the heart of what comic book people like. You know, they get the campiness, but then they also have the suspense, you know? Okay. And because it's a show, they can do the build-up and the character development, where the movies, they're not, and they're just trying to use movie actors, where they totally could have. They could have taken The Flash and Green Arrow from the TV shows and just started with them, and then brought those in with the bigger name things, and people would have literally lost their minds, you know? And it was just, they don't want to take that risk. I don't know why.
I will say, I do like Ben Affleck as Batman.
I didn't think he was bad.
I didn't like a lot of the stuff that happened, but I thought there's one fight that Batman has in Batman vs. Superman, which I think is one of the best Batman scenes I've ever watched.
Okay, which one?
It's like he's going in. I don't want to spoil anything in the movie, but it's basically
which movie? Wait,
it's Batman.
It's too late. We're spoiling Justice League and before.
No, it's Okay, so if you haven't seen the DC movies, goodbye.
I'm so sorry, but if you haven't seen them, I have a feeling you're not gonna.
But the what was it? So it was in Batman vs. Superman, and he's going after Superman's mom to save her, and it's just the scene where he almost kills everybody. No, or Batman. Like he stabs the guy in the shoulder, he puts the grapple gun through the guy and pulls him back and punches him. It's like, I mean, I guess that wouldn't kill anybody, but holy cow, man, you know.
They could have
that whole
forever.
fight, that fight was, I loved it. Like, it felt like a real fight, you know. It was cool to watch, and you totally got, like, yeah, this is the Batman. He could actually do this. Like, he's been at it longer than them, and he's, you know, the reason why he's head of the Justice League.
He got so huge for that movie.
Yeah.
I liked him as well, and here's the thing, like, the reason DCEU failed is because the studio got too involved and didn't let the people controlling that actually make the movies they should have. Because if you watch Batman v Superman, the extended edition or the Ultimate Edition, you know, that has an extra half hour, it explains so much more, and I think it's a far better movie.
Well,
personally.
I think I've seen the extended version. I think it explains more, like it's a less confusing movie, but it's sort of like you understand how people are getting from point A to point B, but they're still getting to a place that you don't like that much anyway. So it's like, oh, it makes sense why I don't like this movie very much.
Sure, yeah,
so that was... Like, I think it is technically a better film when it's extended, but I don't think it's super worth it either.
Yeah, it's still not.
I say, like, go watch those, like, 2 or 3 Batman scenes, and then that's it for me.
But I love the Batman-Superman scene, and I think that moment really landed and saved a large portion of the movie for me when Batman has Superman down, and Superman says, you have to save Martha, right?
Oh.
Because that moment, sorry, that is a spoiler. So sorry, but
we already told you.
Yeah, but we told you. So, but that moment, like, just really lands because it is like just, you know, it's the perfect connective tissue for them, and it made things, you know, make so much sense. Like, there are parts of it I still felt like it could have worked from Batman v Superman. I was like, okay, let's just see. The way that they brought in Wonder Woman, like, kind of, not really backdoor, we knew that she was going to be revealed from all the previews, but still the fact that they included her was one of the smartest choices for that movie because they jumped right into a team-up movie. They could have saved it. They really could have, but at this point, I really think it's just money they should...
Making a quick back to Marvel, Chris Hemsworth said he'll keep playing Thor as long as they let him. I think they're going with Thor 4, so...
Oh, sure, yeah.
I mean,
nice.
Any of those actors they'd let play forever.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
So, Marvel superhero. In the MCU, alright, not comic books, in the MCU, who are you, Peter?
Who am I? Rocket. I think I like Iron Man the most. There's things I like about all of them. I really like Thor just because of that whole Viking thing, and I really like...
Oh, and you have some, like, Nordic ancestry in you, right? Yeah. We
Manx.
talked about that.
Yeah.
One cool thing, I gotta throw this out. So, Peter showed me his actual, like, family coat of arms, and then you designed the three-pointed symbol that you have as your...
Kind of.
So
no, I didn't design that. My Facebook profile picture right now is the Manx flag.
Okay.
Because unfortunately, my Nana died recently on Good Friday, and she was very Manx, and so that's kind of one of the things that, you know, not that Facebook matters too much for family matters, but I just kind of I think my dad, brother, and I all did that or something. It was just like, raise the flag, hoist the colors, kind of a thing.
And didn't you do some metal work on that?
Yeah. So this actually, I'm wearing it right now, is my personal symbol, and I guess you could call it a coat of arms. I don't know. What's it mean? Okay, so it does have what's called the triskelion. Do you want me to, like, put it closer to your camera so anyone can?
I'm gonna try to get over to you, and I'm just gonna zoom it in here.
Oh, sweet, cool.
Just hold it out, and I'm just gonna bop over here, and this is gonna be weird, guys, but we're gonna try to make it work.
Is that what they see? Oh.
Yeah, that's what they're seeing. So here's what that is, guys.
Okay. It's still pretty small here, but all right. So you got this three-legged symbol, which is called a triskelion, and it's on the Manx flag. It's a Manx symbol, probably even older, but it's these 3 legs, and basically what it means is whichever way you throw me, I shall stand. So kind of like a wheel there. Now it's also the Isle of Man. If you have Ireland, and then hang on, I'm gonna do this backwards. Ireland, and then Scotland and England. Right in the middle there is a little island called the Isle of Man, which in Manx, which is the connotation of the people there, is called Ellen Vannon. And that's where Vikings eventually settled. And my family goes way back there on that island. And so on this symbol, you also have underneath it. Oh, sorry, I wasn't done.
No. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think
So,
yeah.
Okay, you saw it before. So underneath, there's a Thor's hammer for the Viking, but the Vikings eventually converted to Christianity. So I have the cross above that, sort of like ascending to that, and the 3 legs on the cross means, whichever way you throw me, on Christ the solid rock I stand. Ooh, special. And then lastly, the whole thing looks kind of like an anchor, which, has its own sort of things to it. My grandfather was in the Royal Navy in the war. Okay. Anchors are, a pretty fairly common-ish Christian symbol for, we may be anchored in Christ. We may drift, but we're anchored in Christ, which is a really poetic way of saying we screw up and we know it. So basically, it's like, we may drift, but we're anchored. It's like, I know what I did, So. Yeah. But that's but I made that in college. It was actually my first metalworking project. Oh, really? Yeah, believe it or not. Like, we had like little exercises, but this was the first thing I made. It was a riveting project. I think it has something like 14 pieces of brass and copper in it. Oh, sweet. Yeah. How long did that take? Oh, something like 20 hours or something. Oh, okay. Yeah. Some little bit of dedication. Yeah. It was a lot of fun, though. I didn't think I'd get to make something this cool.
What's the biggest metalwork piece that you made?
I didn't really do a lot of big stuff with it. It was mostly like little teeny pieces. I think I made a necklace that had like really big pieces on it and like some stones set it was really weird looking. It was basically like some kind of squid thing, and had like it was bizarre. I think I turned it into a Christmas ornament. That's awesome. But I did make a little kilt pin, which is a little sword that's like that big, and because I always wanted one, and it's got this Celtic knotwork going around it, and there's but the blade is made out of sterling silver, and that was really fun because the blade's only like a few inches long, and I put it on a full-sized anvil, and was like hammering it to get like the blood groove on it, and so. You see people smash, like hammering swords or whatever, and I'm over here on this anvil going, ding, 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 ding,
That's amazing.
Listening to the Lord of the Rings music, like, I'm gonna reforge this sword,
That is the short film I'm seeing in my head. Like, you're taking some sort of metalwork workshop, and we like open on all these people swinging
Forged
hammers,
in fire.
and we hear this epic music, and all of a sudden we realize that it's just your headphones, and you're like, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, that's a true story actually happened.
That's hilarious. Oh my god.
I thought it was funny while I was doing it. I'm like, this is just stupid.
That's crazy.
But it was tricky. I got it down right, and I was really, really pleased with the result.
Dude, that's awesome. Well, guys, I mean, an hour goes by so quick.
Are we done?
Guys,
what?
We're at the end. It always gets here, and there's so much more to talk about. Like, I gotta tell you, this guy is eclectic, and so we will definitely be bringing Peter REGAN back on the show when I, say his name correctly all the way through. So, guys, this has been a lot of fun. Peter, thank you so much for coming out tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
absolutely. Why don't we give a quick shout out? Where could people go to see your work, or where can they find your stuff?
Right, so I have a website, peterjsregan.com. Check it out. It's got a bunch of my projects. I need to update some things, but you can check it out. Okay. I'm also on Instagram, peterjsregan. So cool. I have a Twitter, but I never use it, so forget that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and if you're. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just my website, Instagram.
Yeah, excellent. So we I believe we have both of those links back in there. Sorry, there's something going on with a couple of these cameras. They've been liking to freeze. I'm hoping that we'll get through the last tail end here. I'm sure our mics are working just fine, but okay, let's get in here. And yeah, that's good. Okay, so all right, so let's end this show, guys. I want to say thank you so much. If you're watching with us for the first time, I'm Pollock Taylor with Filmburgh, the conductor of this little engine that's gonna, and we're here every week interviewing mostly every week. We're gonna talk about that in a second, but we are here pretty much every weekend interviewing a new guest or artist or entrepreneur from right now the greater Pittsburgh area. But hey, if you want to come be on the show, shoot us a message. We'd love to have people. We had a photographer from LA on the show. I believe that he was episode 7, I think 6 or 7. Go check out Tony Moe's episode. It's a really good one. And as always, we have giveaways. Tonight is no different. We are going to be gone from now for the next 2 Saturdays, and then we are going to come back Monday the 13th. So Monday the 13th, 9 p.m., we're going to be starting a new day, a new time for Filmburgh Live. We have some great viewers on here now, but we find we have a lot more interaction on Monday nights. So hopefully we'll see more of you guys there if it's a little bit more into your lifestyles, and we'll be able to, do more of what we do here. So I want to throw it out. Sean Allen, you're the winner of last week's 42-inch carbon Newer slider for your camera setup. And this week we are doing, oh gosh, why does this keep doing that? Let's go in here and do this one more time. Do it right. Come on now. Okay, and this week we are giving away the last of our tripod. So guys, get in on this. We got another Manfrotto tripod to give away. It is their Element Big Traveler tripod. It's got a fluid head, really excellent for the people who need something lightweight and versatile for if you're doing a lot of outdoor photography. But if you want to do some minimal videography on it, it's going to be beneficial for camcorders and smaller DSLRs, and you can utilize the fluid head on it for some really solid pans. So other than that, guys, I just want to say thank you again. Wes, you got anything for us before we sign off, my friend?
Not much, but I just want to say thank you for tuning in, staying with us all this time. Thank you to all of our special guests. They've been great. And we look forward to being back very soon.
Yes, I completely agree with all that, and we didn't quite make it out of here without the cameras doing their thing. I wonder what's going on. I have the AC cranking and everything. Okay, guys, it wouldn't be a live show if there wasn't some weird stuff going on here. So, yeah, you know what? That's that, and then, well, our guest left already, at least on our video output. But guys, thank you so much. Bye. Have a great one. We'll see you in a couple of weeks, and we'll be back to talk about why we've been gone, which is our first official SAG shoot. We're doing a short project agreement contract for a short film. We're filming on the 15th, and we'll tell you more about that and our process gearing up for it across the next couple of weeks during our show in, 17 days.
17
Guys,
days, yep.
Thank you so much again. As always, I'm Pollock Taylor with Filmburgh. Follow our story and let us help you tell yours.